Hey again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Wheel of Albums. Along with my brother Adam and our friend Jack, I am Justin. What we do here on Wheel of Albums is we spin an album for the 1001 albums you must hear before you die from Robert Diamond's book. Then we listen to that album for the week. We get together, have a little short podcast for you, and we discuss if we think this album is something you should listen to before you die. Jack spun the wheel this week, and we're heading to Berlin. We're going to go listen to Bowie. David Bowie's 1977 album, Low.
So I spun it. I didn't know what it was because, strangely enough, the Wheel of Albums doesn't tell us all of the information. It just tells us the album. Justin told me it was David Bowie. Then I was a little bit excited. I figured I'd be familiar. And then again, getting a little egg on my face. I wasn't real familiar except for maybe 3 songs on this. But so all in all, I did look forward to it, and I was pleasantly surprised.
I am familiar with Low. This one I don't reach to often, but when I do reach to it, I'm very satisfied after listening to it. And this is after his high points in with Station to Station, which is one of my favorite albums. I was looking forward to getting back into Low again. Adam, I know that you've always had a certain spot for David Bowie's Low.
David Bowie's Low. That once again, I was going to have to listen to an album that leaves me desiring more. And it made me feel like I had to go through the 5 stages of grief after I pushed through, and I did listen to it all 3 times. I accepted the album and realized that it's actually not as bad as I thought it was. And I actually really have come to enjoy the first 7 songs on the album.
If you're not familiar with Low, side A, quirky, art pop songs that have a lot of Kraftwerk and German influence to them. They're spunky. They've got a big beat to hear on a lot of 80s music that's to come, thanks to production by Tony Visconti. And then the second side are pretty much just basically soundtracks with no lyrics at all.
100 out of 100 times I would listen to side A, and I would never listen to side B unless I was literally physically forced to. My favorite tune that I'm going to go with is My Wife. I think it's the best song on the album.
Normal side, I guess, is what you would call it, side A. And Sound and Vision is the runaway hit on there. That's top notch. And honestly, when I listen to side A, song 1, which is an instrumental, Speed of Life, song 2, song 3, it almost sounds like a making of the song that became Sound and Vision. You can hear pieces of everything, and it's coming together.
My favorite song on side A would have to probably be Sound and Vision. That song is the prototype for every British new wave song in the 80s, with happy-go-lucky music and sad downbeat lyrics.
For side B, I'm going to go Subterraneans. The last 2 minutes actually picks up and feels pretty good. And then it's over, and that's the best part of side B.
On the instrumental side, it's going to be Art Decade, because that actually sounds like he had a point to it, already did work it out, and it was going somewhere. That one really sounds like it's the background music of a movie scene. Maybe his next movie, he was hoping he was going to be the person that was scoring it as well.
Thanks to our Polish contributor, Jason Zaneski, who lets us know everything in Eastern Europe, is Warsaw. Not Warsaw, as I was going to say. I love Bowie's vocals that he brings. Brian Eno laid down all the music, and then I guess Bowie was away for a while, and when he came back, he's like, hey, let me throw some chants on the end of this thing. It's gorgeous. I always wondered, what song on Low would Iggy do justice to if it was to be released on The Idiot or Lust for Life?
Doing his Iggy thing while Bowie was doing his Bowie thing. Behind the wall, as it were. The song that sounds most like it could be transformed more or cater more to Iggy Pop is a song where I think Iggy Pop's even singing some on. It's that What in the World. It sounds like if maybe they changed and sped it up a little bit, it would more fit what Iggy Pop was into at that time. And I do think it's him somewhere howling in the background.
I think that Iggy would lend his hand to and make it more hard-edged is Always Crashing in the Same Car. Iggy Pop would just take it to the next level and with a little bit of Iggy spin. I think that would be a really cool version. I also think Iggy would drop kick and beat the crap out of Weeping Wall and Art Decade. Like, that's not going on any of my albums.
So Bowie abandons Los Angeles. He abandons the Thin White Duke.
Where best to solve a crippling addiction? And who better to solve it with than Iggy Pop?
I'm trying to retreat and get away from using too much nose candy. I'm going to Vienna, Austria. It's the home of Sigmund Freud. And I think I would just replace the nose candy with strudel. Because, it's better than cocaine. Puff pastry.
Iggy and Dave go to Berlin to beat their drug habits. And then I thought, well, you know what would be better is if Iggy and Dave go to Berlin and open up a cupcake shop. Just like in the I Love Lucy episode, the conveyor belt gets out of control, but Iggy can't stuff the extra cupcakes into a shirt because, as everyone knows, Iggy Pop doesn't even wear a shirt. Laughter ensues, they become better people, and they beat the addiction. That's what Berlin's known for, all of its happy endings.
And again, it's back to Bowie and his friends. Just like Lou Reed, episode 7, Backplug. He's got Iggy on board. He's got Brian Eno along.
I don't know how much direction Bowie took from Brian Eno.
He had Eno along just because he admired this ambient work up to this point and wanted to incorporate some of those sounds, especially on the second side of this album.
So for as great as Brian Eno is, he's got his hands all over this, and not in a good way as far as I'm concerned.
Clearly, they are trying some new things. What he liked out of this, the bits and pieces of this jigsaw puzzle here or there, and then they get plugged into future Bowie songs. Not that the whole song's wrapped around it, but just these little breakdowns that he does. It's still in their infancy stage, I suppose is the best way to put it, if I want to sound like a music snob, which I do want to sound like a music snob.
The best part of any David Bowie song is actually listening to David Bowie sing. And if you rob that of the listener, then there's no point in listening to a David Bowie song most of the time.
One exception to the instrumentals, though, A New Career in a New Town is gorgeous, and it's even more gorgeous and very, very sad once the lyrics are added to it. And I Can't Give Everything Away, almost 40 years later, on the Black Star album. That song's harmonic. It gets me in tears.
The Letterboxd review of David Bowie Low is that it is a David Bowie, Iggy Pop, sauerkraut, rock, synthesizer sandwich. And you should take some bites, but you don't have to have the whole meal. Pace yourself.
All right, well, we took all the songs on this album and gave them all 1 to 10 scores. Our final rating, 6.93. This is my highest rated album so far. Jack came in with the lowest rating for Low by David Bowie, the 5.36. And then as far as our 3 favorite songs, Sound and Vision tops, Be My Wife second, Speed of Life third. Our least favorites were Art Decade and Weeping Wall, both with scores of 16 apiece.
Puff Pastry, do we listen to this album before we die or not? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say if you're a huge David Bowie fan, then yeah, check out Low. I think you're better off spending your time checking out other David Bowie albums. I know that out of all the ones that I've listened to, Low is by far the one I like the least, and it's the one that I'm picking last if I ever have to listen to a David Bowie album. I'm going to think that Justin's going to say absolutely.
Oh, you better believe it, Adam. It is a revelation. It's a whole new beginning for Bowie after the Thin White Duke and Ziggy Stardust. This is where he sobers up, he gets clean, and he sets down the blueprint for music, not just for himself, but for a lot of bands that come up in the 80s. Also, this was released when punk was big. This is more punk than punk. You should listen to this. Jack, what do you think?
Because this provided a lot of the foundation of future Bowie work, the innovation that he started to develop, some new ideas that he started to polish that will resurrect themselves later in other albums. I have to vote that this is not an album that you must listen to before you die. The seeds that are planted throughout Low appear in the future albums, the Let's Dance, the Never Let Me Down, even Black Star, sauerkraut, rock, synthesizer sandwich.
All right, so I'm the lone yay again for the second album in a row. But look, if it's going to be a 70s Bowie album, there's a good chance I'm going to say, yes, you should hear it before you die, especially Low. All right. Hey, thanks for listening. It's time to get ready for next week's album. Time to spin that wheel. Here we go. And the wheel has chosen British Steel by Judas Priest. Adam, Jack, I hope you enjoy this much more than my last spin, which was David Gray's Weight Ladder. For both Adam and Jack, I'm Justin. Thanks for listening again to Wheel of Albums. Follow along with us on YouTube and Spotify. Adam, take it away.
Damn you, Brian Eno, you musical genius. You could have had a great, fantastic album, and then you screwed it up with the last 4 songs. Because you know it's better than cocaine? Puff pastry. Puff pastry is fantastic.